Okay, back. Sorry about that. Ran out of time. The program I'm using limits me to a 15-minute video. So we have our base design. Now, if I hover and click, notice how I have sections. The construction lines that we used, remember I said those were informational, not part of my design. They don't break up my design, do they? The circle lines do, because those are part of my design. They're not dashed like the construction lines. So I've got 3 different sections. That's not going to work. I want it to be one body. Okay. So I need to get rid of these interior lines that aren't necessary. In the modify menu, I have what's called a trim tool. The scissors are the trim tool. So you got a shortcut to it right above the modify menu. Or I can go down, click on trim, and we're going to trim away these excess lines. Notice how I hover over how they turn purple. The construction line does break this for this tool. So I'm going to trim here, click and trim here. I'm going to click and trim here and trim here. All right. Now that looks like this is a construction line, this is a construction line, so they're not part of my design. I'm going to escape out of the trim tool, and notice when I click in, now the whole shape highlights as an enclosed area when I click on it. So we have our initial sketch done. Let's click Finish Sketch. All right, let's go to the home position. And now I need to catch up with where I'm at. All right, now we're going to extrude our shape to a height of 38 millimeters. So notice my navigation, my menu up here has changed. I'm in the design mode. Here's my shortcut for extrude. Extrude just simply means to add height, add depth. Okay, I can go create, extrude, or I can just simply hit the keyboard shortcut of E. So I'm going to click on extrude, and my extrude palette opens. I only have one shape on my canvas. So Fusion assumes that that is the shape I want to extrude. So it's already selected for me. Notice I have one item selected at one profile. It gives me a dimension box so I can type in the value of my extrusion. I could use the arrow, okay, and drag it up or down, but I would prefer to key it in because that's much more exact, 38 millimeters, and I want my operation to create a new body. When you have that, click OK. I now have a 3-dimensional item, okay, but those edges are pretty rough. Let's zoom in and out. Those straight blocked off edges, and that doesn't look like what I have on my controller, does it? Okay, those edges are rounded off. Makes it a little bit more user-friendly, easier to hold. So what we're going to do in our next step is round these edges, taper them off a little bit, and we're going to use the Fillet Tool. Now, there's a Fillet Tool in sketching to round off corners. There's a Fillet Tool in the design mode, okay? It functions differently. Why they call them the same thing? Yeah, I don't know. I think we could have come up with some plan on that. So let's add a fillet to our edges. Modify, fillet. Now the fillet in the design mode has the keyboard shortcut of F. All right, so modify, fillet, or you have the shortcut up here above the modify menu right here, fillet. So fillet, the fillet palette opens. I'm dragging that out of my way. The first thing we need to do is select the edges that we're going to fillet. So the select is highlighted blue. That means that is what's open. All right, so I'm going to make sure all my edges are selected. Notice this one's blocked off, but when I go here, it goes all the way around for me. So the entire top edge is selected. I want to get the bottom edge too. So I'm going to click on this edge, come over, and that's going to select the rest of it for me. Okay, so I've got all my edges selected, and I want to fillet 4 millimeters. So I type 4 into the dimension box. It projects the fillet for you so you can see it. And that's exactly what I want. And I'm going to click OK. And I've applied the fillet. All right. Now we're going to move off to our next step. Okay, now what we're going to do is sketch out on the top surface of our design the control buttons, or the major control buttons on the left and right side. We'll get the A and B here in the middle a little bit later. So we're going to go create sketch. So I'm hovering over my shortcut to create sketch. Click. Now, what we're going to do is select the top of the surface here. One thing to keep in mind, I don't want to click here where the uh, plane overlaps with the surface I want to click on, because if I click there, what will happen is it will select the plane. It's going to default to the plane in the areas that the plane and surface you want to sketch on overlap. So instead of clicking here, I'm going to go up out of the way of the plane, away from it, and click on the surface up here. All right, so it spun it, brought it around to the top view so that I can sketch on it. Now that's not really where I want it. I've got the, if you look, I'm down here in the bottom toolbar. I've got the pan tool, which I can click on, which allows me to click and drag, okay, and move my sketch into a position where it works better for me. You also have the option of the fit, okay, right here. Mine's set to fit. If you hit the drop down, you can't see it because I'm in the wrong, this thing is underneath. It gives you the option of fit. Now that's, I can mouse wheel it in and out, but I'm going to go back to the pan tool, pull it back over here. Now hit escape to get out of the pan tool. All right, I need to see my first sketch because I need to identify the center of this circle. Well, guess what? If I hover over there, it shows me the center, the radius point of this arc that's left, that's in place. This is going to be the starting point of where I create my mouse button, or not mouse buttons, but my controller buttons. If I needed to see that sketch, I could go to the browser up here, expand sketches, and make sketch one visible. See how the eyeball shows up, and it gives me those little points there for me. I don't need it though. So what we're going to do is start with the left directional button. And we are going to use 2 center rectangles that overlap with one another with the dimensions of 55 by 25. One's going to have a height of 55 and one's going to have a length here of 55. And then we'll get rid of the excess lines so that we have one shape that's like a cross. So let's go create rectangle, center rectangle. Let's go to the center point. Okay, that's where it was. That's right in the center of my circle here. We saw the points there earlier. I can bring the sketch back if you need. Click. Now I'm going to drag out. All right, now figure out which is which. The one on the right, the one that's at 40 right now, is my height of this. I'm going to make it 55, tab, and the other dimension will be 25 millimeters. There's my rectangle I want for the first set of buttons going up and down, or directional buttons. Hit enter. Okay, this one's in place. Now we're going to draw another one, but this one's going to be 55 this way and 25 down. So let's go, no, not the right one. Create rectangle, center rectangle. Let's go to the center point again, click. Now I'm dragging to the right. Okay, this one needs to be 25 millimeters, so it's 25 millimeters tall. Tab, and my length, fit width, needs to be 55. Hit enter. All right, so I've got a rectangle moving this way and a rectangle moving this way. To complete my design, I need to get rid of these interior lines. So let's go to the Modify, Trim tool. There's the shortcut, Trim, click, and let's get rid of these interior lines. Look at that. My directional lines from the center rectangle are in the way. So let's get rid of each little section. Be very careful. If you happen to click on the wrong one and delete a line you shouldn't delete, you can undo. Only the purple section will delete. I'm going to hit the escape to close out the trim tool. And now if I click here, notice I have one enclosed shape like a cross. Okay, and that's going to be my directional button. Now, on the other side, we need to create our 4 circular buttons 1 through 4. So let's make sketch 1 visible again. And there my center point's showing for me. Now, we know that we want our buttons, the length between the left and right button should be 55 millimeters, the same as the length of this rectangle going up and down. So 55 millimeters. We want them to be symmetrical. So we need to draw some construction lines that help us measure this out. And where is the center point for our buttons that the 4 buttons we're going to create on the right side. So let's turn on construction so we can draw some construction lines to help us identify the center points for those buttons. All right, open the line tool. There's my center point. Click. Now, I want to go 27.5 millimeters to the left. Why 27.5 millimeters? Well, the whole distance is 55 millimeters. So 27.5 to the left. 27.5 is half of 55. 55 divided by 2, 27.5. So it's 27.5 millimeters. Enter. All right. Line tool again, open, click. Let's go up 27.5 millimeters.